Carol Kidu Jr. with the news update. Papua New Guinea is among 4 other Pacific countries facing increased in violence against children, according to the Save the Children report. The report highlights that more than 80% of the 110 child protection professionals surveyed in PNG, Vanuatu, Solomon Islands, Tonga and Fiji said emotional, physical and sexual violence had increased. Save the Children is calling for governments across the region to continue to show leadership in ending violence against children by urgently prioritizing relevant legislative and policy reform, including the child protection system. Save the Children has been working in the Pacific region for more than 50 years and has offices and programs in PNG, Fiji, Vanuatu, Solomon Islands and Tonga. They work with its governments, local partners and communities to deliver child protection, healthcare, education, disaster risk reduction and climate resilience programs. The Independent Consumer and Competition Commission has announced the new retail fuel prices for this month, which will take effect today, Wednesday, 8th May. For this month, the indicative retail prices for petrol, diesel and kerosene will increase on average throughout Papua New Guinea. As a result of adding all the various cost components mentioned above, the maximum retail price movements for petrol, diesel and kerosene in Port Moresby are 4 kina 84 toya, 4 kina 45 toya and 4 kina 6 toya. As part of the ICCC's enforcement and compliance of fuel prices, their investigation officers will conduct inspections of all service stations to ensure prices of declared petroleum products comply with the allowable maximum prices. Prime Minister James Marape has called on the residents of Gulf Province to prepare. Oktedi Mining has pledged 100,000 kina as a gold sponsor for the upcoming 2024 Geoscience Exploration and Extraction Conference and Exhibition, supporting the event's focus on sustainability and multidisciplinary integration in geosciences. OTML's General Manager of Social Performance and Sustainability, Jesse Pille, presented the donation in Port Moresby to Jerry Gary, Managing Director of the Mineral Resources Authority. The GEE conference, held from August 7th to 9th, aims to connect academics, researchers and professionals to advance research and innovation within the sector. This event continues to encourage inclusive global growth and the achievement of Sustainable Development Goals with the 2024 theme, Research and Innovation in Geosciences, Exploration and Extraction for Sustainability. China has accused Australia of provocative actions following a recent military confrontation over international waters. The incident escalated when flares were fired toward an Australian helicopter, forcing the pilot to undertake urgent evasive maneuvers. The Albanese government has strongly condemned this behavior as unsafe and unprofessional. Defence correspondent Andrew Green provides further insights into the ongoing tensions between the two nations, ABC reports.
Off the South Korean coast, an Australian warship's helping enforce UN sanctions against Kim Jong-un's regime. Last weekend, this Seahawk chopper was operating from HMAS Hobart over international waters of the Yellow Sea when it was intercepted by a Chinese military jet.
The actions of the Chinese military were irresponsible and very concerning.
Like with this encounter involving the Americans last year, the People's Liberation Army aircraft fired flares towards the path of the Australian helicopter.
Certainly it's unsafe because it could have had significant implications for the navigational safety of the Seahawk.
The confrontation coming 24 hours after Australia, the United States, Japan and the Philippines vowed to step up collective efforts to counter Beijing's military assertiveness in the region. And just days after Australia's Navy chief confronted his Chinese counterpart over last November's dangerous sonar attack against HMAS Toowoomba, also in international waters.
We have made very strong representations at every level to China about this incident, which we regard as unprofessional and unacceptable.
No defence personnel were injured in this latest incident, but Australia's increasingly concerned about China's behaviour to the north, where the risks of future miscalculations are growing. And despite the diplomatic and military protests, Beijing's standing firm and accusing Australia of being provocative. And China's in turn launched its own protest.
The United States ambassador to Papua New Guinea, Solomon Islands and Vanuatu has congratulated newly elected Prime Minister Jeremiah Manele on his election victory. In a statement last week, soon after his election to the top political leadership job, Anne-Marie Justice-Shock sent her congratulations message to the Kia Hograno Havule Member of Parliament. In a statement, Ambassador Justice-Shock said she enjoyed working with Manele when he served as the Foreign Affairs Minister and looks forward to working with him in his new position as Prime Minister to continue deepen the U.S. Solomon Islands bilateral relations. Evidence is mounting a medication already used to treat opioid and alcohol dependence could benefit people living with long COVID. Queensland researchers have published world-first findings showing naltrexone restores the function of impaired cells from patients with the debilitating condition.
Grew up outdoors, his love of horse riding taking him to national dressage competitions. But this time last year he was floored by long COVID.
It was that flat out walking, couldn't do anything with animals, horses, kind of went from, being outside 24/7 to being locked in the house.
After contracting the virus for the second time, the 19-year-old engineering student didn't recover. He could barely leave the house, had low blood pressure, a high heart rate and brain fog.
Wasn't good.
Jayden started seeing a physiotherapist and a doctor prescribed a low dose of naltrexone, a medication used to block the effects of opioids and alcohol. The symptoms slowly diminished and his energy returned.
Probably around 70%.
Other people with long COVID have anecdotally reported benefits from naltrexone, and now Queensland scientists are working to verify it. They've published a study showing the drug restored the function of impaired immune cells from long COVID patients.
We're the first to actually find the cell mechanism of how this drug may be benefiting patients.
Put simply, naltrexone repaired the ion channels, or closed off doorways into the damaged cells, enabling calcium to enter.
The calcium inside the cells make the cells work properly.
The researchers will now run 2 clinical trials testing low-dose naltrexone in patients with long COVID and myalgic encephalomyelitis, which is also known as chronic fatigue syndrome, 2 conditions causing much suffering around the world. Professor Fred Meunier wasn't involved in the study and says while it's an important step, the clinical trial results will be crucial.
We need to know whether the long COVID patient gets better.
Jayden is now back in the saddle.
Theatres Limited announced its sponsorship of the new Theatist MBB Marlins Rugby Union team this morning on May 8, 2024 in Port Moresby. This marks the company's first venture into supporting rugby growth, community empowerment and inclusivity. Theatist will equip the Marlins with sponsored jerseys and training gear, enhancing the team's prospects in the NCD's rugby scene. The partnership is set to inspire and impact the community, aligning with Theatist's commitment to local development. And that's been the news update. Join us this evening at 6 for more news and sports.